Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're tackling one of the most agonizing, frankly stressful questions of modern life. What does it actually take to finally stop living paycheck to paycheck? If you've ever, opened your bank app and had to physically brace yourself before the balance loaded, you know exactly the kind of financial anxiety I'm talking about here. Well, today we are going to break down exactly how you can permanently escape that cycle.
Let me ask you a quick question. What number do you think brings true, lasting financial relief? If you listen to most of the financial gurus out there, they preach that you need these massive, intimidating sums of money to feel secure. They'll tell you that you absolutely must have a huge six-figure salary or some massive trust fund to finally breathe easy. But the truth? The truth is actually so much more accessible than that. And it's a milestone almost anyone can hit with the right focus. Hold this myth, right? This idea that we need a towering mountain of $1 million. But the reality is that the real magic threshold, the exact number that completely transforms your relationship with money, is just $20,000. You really don't need $1 million to fundamentally change your life. You just need to reach this one specific, highly...
Into this with Section 1, the $20,000 tipping point.
You see, straight line. There are these invisible barriers, and $20,000 is the first major one. It's literally like pushing a massive, heavy boulder up a really steep hill. Uphill struggle. You're straining, making what feels like very little progress, and honestly, probably questioning if it's even possible. But $20,000 is the crest of the hill. Once you cross that threshold, you're not pushing against gravity anymore. Gravity actually starts working in your favor, and momentum just completely takes over.
Section 2, escaping survival mode.
What's actually happening to you when you crest that hill? Well, your wires itself. When you don't have savings, your brain operates in pure, unadulterated survival mode. Every single decision gets filtered through fear and scarcity. It's kind of like trying to plan a relaxing vacation while your house is actively on fire. Your mental bandwidth is just totally consumed by immediate threats. But crossing that $20K threshold, that shifts you into growth mode. You finally get the mental breathing room to stop asking, how do I survive? And start asking, how do I grow this money? You become proactive, seeking out opportunities instead of just dodging one crisis after another.
And we actually have the hard data to back up this psychological shift. There's some fascinating research from Vanguard showing that saving just a $2,000 emergency fund boosts a person's financial well-being by a massive 21%. Think about that for a second. $2,000 is less than what a lot of people drop on a fancy laptop, but having that tiny financial buffer creates an immediate, massive leap in how secure you feel day to day.
And this brilliantly illustrates what happens next. When you push that initial emergency fund up to cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses, which for the average person lands right around that $20,000 mark, you get another 13% boost in your well-being. That is the breathing room your brain has been begging for. At that point, you are officially out of wealth preservation and fully into wealth building.
Let's look at how that actually works in Section 3, the math of momentum.
Getting to this point obviously requires serious discipline and that rare ability to delay gratification. But the reward? It's absolute mathematical magic. Let's say you're saving $1,000 a month and getting an 8% return. That first $20,000 takes about 19 months of just grinding discipline. But your second $20,000? It only takes 17 months. You did the exact same amount of work, but your money is now stepping up and doing some of the heavy lifting. Fast forward to when you have a $400,000 portfolio. Generating your next $20K takes just 5 months. The acceleration becomes almost comical.
Let's break down how this builds on a really practical level. Up until $20,000, investment returns, honestly, they feel pretty insignificant. I mean, a 10% return on $2,000 is just $200. It's nice, sure, but it doesn't exactly change your life. But apply that same 10% to your $20,000 tipping point, and suddenly you're looking at $2,000 in pure profit. At this scale, even a standard 8% return generates $1,600 a year completely passively. That's real money just showing up in your account without you lifting a single finger.
This changes everything about how you manage your life, which we'll cover in Section 4, micro versus macro decisions.
Because your money is finally working for you, you experience this surprising, almost natural shift in how you budget.
When you're broke, you obsess over micro decisions, right? Generic versus name brand cereal, feeling guilty over a $3 coffee, stressing over gas prices. But agonizing over that $3 coffee only swings your finances by, what, maybe $1,000 a year? Once you hit 20K, you realize that is totally wasted mental energy. You literally stop sweating the small stuff and shift all that focus to macro decisions, like optimizing your housing costs, negotiating your income, and dialing in your investment strategy. These are the big choices that actually swing your net worth by tens of thousands of dollars.
And that newfound focus leads us directly to Section 5, the walking away power.
This solid financial foundation completely revolutionizes your relationship with your career. Why? Because you've officially acquired what we like to call walking away money. Look, when you live paycheck to paycheck, you're trapped. You have an incredibly weak negotiating position. You can't comfortably ask for a raise or push back on a toxic boss because you desperately need that very next check just to survive. But walking away money? That means you have enough capital to quit tomorrow and survive for months. You are no longer negotiating from a place of desperation. You're negotiating from a position of absolute strength.
So, the crucial point is that just having the money acts as this invisible career superpower. You don't even have to actually quit. Just knowing the money is sitting right there in your account makes you confidently ask for raises, easily push back on unreasonable demands, and take really smart risks on new opportunities. And guess what? Your boss notices this newfound confidence. That leads to better assignments, more recognition, and ultimately a lot more money. It's this massive, beautiful, positive feedback loop of wealth.
But we need to pause here for Section 6, avoiding the reward trap. Because right here is where I need to issue a very urgent warning. There is a massive, incredibly common trap waiting for you the exact moment you hit this life-changing milestone. People hit 20K, they feel amazing, and they immediately decide to reward themselves with something like a brand new car. Now, what's really interesting here is how fast that destroys your progress. The second you drive a new car off the lot, it instantly loses 20% of its value. Poof, gone. You are actively destroying the wealth you just sweat so hard to build. Add in the monthly payments, the higher insurance, the gas, and you're suddenly dropping $600 to $800 a month just to get from point A to point B.
And the true opportunity cost is honestly so much worse than just the monthly payment. A flashy $30,000 car doesn't just cost $30,000. It actually robs you of over $200,000 in lost investment growth over the next 20 years. When you adopt this new growth mindset, driving an older, reliable Honda isn't a sacrifice at all. It's a brilliant, highly strategic move for your future freedom. The person driving the flashy car is usually stressed out about money, while the person in the older Honda is quietly building wealth and sleeping beautifully at night.
Which brings us to our final powerful thought from our sources today. Hitting $20,000 is the fundamental difference between surviving and thriving. It's the difference between just reacting to whatever life throws at you and actually designing the life you want. We have to stop treating our first real chunk of savings as a reward just waiting to be spent. It's not a reward, it is the golden seed for your generational wealth. So I'll leave you with this question. When you finally crest that hill and hit your magic number, are you going to blow it on a fleeting reward, or will you let it roll forward and design the life of your absolute dreams? Think about it. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.